Mummy, will you draw it for me? Does this happen to you at all? You've got the markers, the paper, maybe some soft music in the background, and they want you to do it for them. Is that okay? Can you do it for them? But what if it keeps going on and every time you're drawing, they're wanting you to do the drawing for them? Today we're talking all about why this happens and what we should be doing to support our children over and through that stage. If we haven't met before, my name is Holly. I'm a pediatric occupational therapist. I release new videos every single Tuesday about giving you as parents and caregivers tools to bake in what science says children need in these early years and leave out all of the rest so we're not also frying our brains. So this happens a lot. We're wanting to draw with our children. We've heard that this is really important for their early childhood development, for their ability to later be able to write. That all happens in drawing in the beginning. So we sit down with these great intentions of allowing our child time to draw. And as soon as everyone's sitting, the first question is, Mommy, will you do it for me? Now, obviously, this can be completely fine if it's once or twice or once in a while, but what often happens is that this becomes a pattern. So I was working with a parent a couple of weeks ago that reached out specifically about this issue for a consultation session, and what it turned out to be is that this was happening every single time that they sat down to draw, and the parent was feeling like, is this time actually being valuable at all? Because all that happens is I draw and my child watches me. They're not doing really any drawing because as soon as I've finished the picture, then they're onto another thing. So should I not be drawing? Should I forget about drawing? Like, how do I get around this issue? So we're going to be diving into the 3 rules for drawing. Those are like the cornerstones for helping our children to draw independently and why it's really important for them to be drawing, and some ideas for how you can manage this within your home. But before we get there, I wanted to ask you, what happens in your home when this happens, when your child is wanting you to draw for them? Do you A, give up? And you can leave this in the comment box. Let me know which is your preference. Do you give up on drawing and just move on to a different activity? Do you draw the picture for them? Or does it turn into like a whining and like a push and pull kind of issue between you and your child? Let me know down in the comment box. All 3 of those responses are pretty typical because it is kind of hard to know what to do and how to step forward and how to make drawing time not like a sit in your desk and do your work. Like, it's still enjoyable, but it's also not that you're just giving in and always being the one that's drawing. The first thing that I wanted to just point out is that drawing actually is a really important skill for children, young children especially, and that what I see as a therapist is often children coming in at around, say, grade 1 or grade 2, like they're coming into school years, and they've already developed in their mind this like really strong idea that drawing is somehow scary, or they have that like fear of putting pen to paper in a creative way. I don't know, have you ever felt that? Like, I've definitely felt that. I bought myself about a year ago like this big canvas and these really nice oil paints, but that first step, like even after you've done that planning, that first like putting color onto this big clean canvas is kind of nerve-wracking because you don't want to ruin it. But that skill, that like pushing past that fear and like just having the grit to try, even if it's not going to turn out well, is a really important skill for our children to learn. Of course, when we're talking about drawing on a piece of paper, this is not like large scale, but these baby steps of them practicing being creative, practicing taking a risk in drawing are actually the baby steps that will lead them to later be into a workforce where they can be innovative, where they can think outside of the box, and where they can, not have that like fear that actually holds them back of splashing paint onto the canvas for the first time. And that is for whether they are in, computers and tech, or whether they become an artist. It's a skill that is transferable between all careers. So drawing is something that we really want for our children. Of course, there's also a lot of underlying things that happen when a child is drawing. They are practicing their fine motor skills. They're developing their grip in, age-appropriate ways of manipulating and holding a pen. They're learning how to stabilize a page with their second hand. They're crossing their midline as they draw. There's so much that is working out in the action of drawing. So it is something that we do want to encourage. And I would say that if you are in this push and pull of mommy draw for me and you're not really wanting to or not knowing what to do there, Keep persevering in drawing. Don't let this be something that pushes you off of drawing or offering drawing time for your child. So when I was working with this mom that I talked about earlier, we kind of broke down first the 3 golden rules for drawing, because if you can get these ones right, you set your environment up to invite drawing and not just your child feeling like they're waiting for something to happen. So you already set them up in the right way. We like to think of our environment almost like a secondary parent or like a secondary teacher. Your environment does half of the work for you. Just like if you go into a clothing store and it says sale on it, that's the environment telling you you should buy this without a salesperson coming over. So we want that our environment really speaks to our child in a way that they can understand. So these are the 3 golden rules. The first one is variety. If we offer the same pen and markers every single time that our child sits down to draw, it's likely to be that they're going to get a little bit bored or it's going to feel a little bit stale. If we can try switching out the types of materials that we use. So firstly, if you use markers often, maybe you can think about using crayons. If you've used crayons, then maybe think about dot markers. If you've used dot markers, then maybe think about pastels. Even young children have quite a large variety of materials that they can use when they are drawing. And then we can think about also the paper. Maybe you often use just normal white paper. Maybe you can switch it to a different color of paper. Maybe you can switch it to a different texture. Maybe you can throw out the paper and do drawing inside shaving cream. My children love this one. Drawing shapes with their hands all inside the shaving cream is so fun. Or a salt tray. Or maybe you don't use a pen and paper. You use a stick and sand when you're outside or on the beach and you're drawing in that. So the more we can make this experience like rich and have a lot of variety in there, the more likely our child is going to be put in a position that they're wanting to think creatively, that the actual activity of drawing involves quite a bit of interest and intrigue and exploration within it, because we know that young children love to explore. Hey, if this is sounding interesting to you, go and grab my free milestone charts for 1 to 4-year-olds. We break down in there every single area of child development, as well as drawing and fine motor skills, so you can get a good grasp on what is developmentally appropriate for your child's age group. Find that in the description box below. The second golden rule is no pressure. It's really easy for us as parents to give feedback based on the achievement of the drawing. So like, you drew a beautiful picture. I love the horse that you drew. Or actually, this most often happens when it's coloring in a page, and you'll hear adults responding like, oh, but you went out of the lines. So for young children, that's really not the kind of feedback that we're wanting to give, and we're also not wanting to like stop them and correct them. Of course, it doesn't mean that there's no boundaries in drawing. You want to, of course, teach them that they draw on the paper and not outside of the paper or not on your walls, but you want that as you are encouraging them to draw, that you're not saying, oh no, do it like this, oh no, your line is too big, oh no, you did it that, because it's really easy to discourage the exploration within drawing if we're constantly correcting. And that brings us to our third golden rule, which is that this kind of drawing time should be process based. Of course, there's going to be a point where your children are wanting specific pictures like a horse or a car or something like that. But we want that the drawing overall is about the fun of drawing and not necessarily about what is drawn. So we call this process-based art, but you can also do process-based drawing or mark making. So you're not wanting to always say what is the picture, but you're wanting to talk about the qualities of what your child has drawn. So like, wow, you drew some big red lines, or oh, I see that you chose lots of colors this time, or it looked like you were really having fun while you were drawing. So when it comes to the process of the picture, we also have to think about what we are actually giving them to draw. So coloring pages, we want to limit coloring pages. We want to have more blank canvases that they're really exploring how to draw, instead of a clear image for them that they can see where they've gone wrong. For example, drawing with a stick on the sand at the beach, there's no wrong, right? It doesn't matter if it's a line, or if it's a squiggle, if it's a person. It's about the drawing, not the product. And that's what we want to encourage even when we are using a pen and paper at home. Those first 3 golden rules down, and this is what I was sharing with this mom that I was working with. The 3 golden rules are the key, really, because that's going to change the pattern of how we're drawing. But there is another thing, and that is, firstly, how you set this up in terms of where you are, because our children, they love us, they want to be by us, it's completely natural. So you want to position yourself so that you are either alongside your child or with your child in the drawing, instead of you being separate. Now, of course, as our children get older, so we're talking like 3 and 4 year olds, you can of course be separate, and it's actually really nice. We do this a lot, having drawing time at home, and everybody draws their own thing and we're not necessarily interacting. If you're trying to break that habit of your child wanting you to do the picture for them, what you want to do is either sit alongside your child and you're both drawing something similar so they can copy you, and keep it really simple. I'm going to link above here some ideas and 2 different videos that I've done for 1-year-olds and 3-year-olds, and different kind of drawing activity things or invitations that you can do together with them. But either sitting alongside them and you're drawing together, because there is definitely value in a child watching the way that you draw, especially if they then get a chance to draw that on their paper. And when we're thinking about drawing, keep it simple. Like, even for a 2 or 3-year-old, keep it simple. Do rather scribbling. You don't need to do like really complicated designs, because we're wanting that they are just engaging with that paper, and again, like making it more process based. The other thing that you can do, and I find this works really well, is do a picture together. So instead of doing, we're drawing the tree and I draw mine and you draw yours, we can do, let's make a forest. So you take your piece of paper and you color in green and they color in green, and you can use pastels and mush all the different types of greens and yellows and whites together to make a beautiful green forest. Then you take a thing of stickers and you stick on the animals in the forest. Like something as simple as that you're both working on one page, and that there's a lot of connection. It's almost like having a little date with your child. There's like really a bonding moment happening. Can also be really helpful in just like breaking that pattern of them asking you to draw. The next thing that I wanted to say, and this is specifically when we're trying to break this habit of asking you to draw, is to focus on growth mindset instead of the actual skill of drawing. If your child is given enough opportunity to draw, they'll develop every skill that they need. The job is not necessarily that we're like hand on hand teaching them exactly how to draw a line, but our job as parents is to be the gardeners, that we're tilling the soil, giving them the right conditions for that growth. So if you are providing those conditions, what we want to do also is focus on the skill of that confidence to like put paint on the canvas, instead of the actual skill of drawing a circle or drawing an X or whatever it be. We want to really focus on them exploring, and really as we encourage that in the way that we speak, but also in the way that we think about and set up different drawing invitations, it would be to encourage the experience of it and the confidence to start drawing, instead of trying to encourage a specific skill. If you enjoyed this and you're interested in pre-writing skills and more digging into drawing for your child, I'm going to link on the screen now a video that I did about multi-sensory ways that you can encourage pre-writing skills. I'll see you over there.